even now, if you think about the youthful mobilizations, they're not necessarily youthful mobilization in the face that we view them to be. They are still, I mean, from a different quarter. Creating a face of a youthful stuff, but behind it all, it's probably not what it looks to be. And the question, what does it take for us to really redraft this script?
I think I need to introduce you. There's a doctor friend of mine he's a medical doctor, a surgeon. But he is so convinced that we can start a movement on the ground of like-minded people, start at the county assembly. So we decide our county assembly is like Kipia Cottages. This place is our county assembly. So we are people who are going to vet you. Dennis, you said you want to vie? Come. We put you through a vetting process. As the constituents, a committee that has been created by the residents of that particular county assembly. So we vet you and we tell you this is what we are looking for. Remember what we said, holding to account? So this particular group is a group of people that has absolutely zero tribal affiliations, but a group of people that are like-minded. Now, when you start this, you start it in County Assembly A, B, C, and before you know it,
whoever they ratify, they want to support.
Yes. Almost what we are seeing in Northeast, and it's called negotiated democracy. So we have our negotiated democracy, but not against the backdrop of tribal. No. This negotiated democracy is negotiated based on ideologies and based on what we want as a specific community of interest. So this community of interest is the one that will decide, all right? But the fear, again, is before you know it, there's been infiltration.
It's hijacked.
It's hijacked.
It's hijacked.
And people are asking, actually, this Dennis is who?
Who
Where
is
does
that
he
guy?
come from?
And why do those few people think they can then impose
and
on us?
before you know it, some elders are sent to talk to you. You almost want to give up and throw your hands up in the air and say, you know what, achaikai, but we can't. We cannot.
And you see that team interviewing you, so, quote unquote, is basically doing what the constituency was supposed to actually to do.
Absolutely.
Or whichever the ward level, whichever that level is. And our dysfunction at that level is now mitigated by this small team, and that small team then becomes infiltrated and all of that stuff. Is it a case of the more things change, the more they remain the same?
Remain the same. But you know what, Dennis, possibly. But you know what? Look at, we never used to have presidential debates. But the last two elections, 2013 and 2017, we had presidential debates. And we may not want to accept it, but the presidential debates actually pointed a direction. By the time you're done with the presidential debates, you as an informed voter are able to say, no, I am going with candidate A. I was initially going for B,
but I'm going to
But given how this person is articulating this, you know, that is the little progress that we need to celebrate.
And therefore, I think we need to do that more.
We need to do that more.
And hold those conversations a whole lot more.
We need to do that more, and we need to hold them at a lower level. Right from the county assembly. Hold those debates. Put all those characters who want to be MPs.
So at the ward level, it gets done.
Yes. Can we have it done? We can do it. Do it at the ward level. Do it at the constituency level. So that should people decide, because there are those who will decide as we are going to elect our dead person, dead as they are, new way to. That's okay.
We've made a conscious decision.
It has happened in this country. There are counties that went that direction, but they regretted. Okay? And we need to have this footage so that tomorrow when they decide to nakufa na mtu wetu, you can put that footage out and remind them, remember how they performed in this? You should have known that this is how you should go. In fact, we should take the debate further and actually rate these people.
Can you imagine if every word was going to have that kind of a conversation?
Exactly.
And the people sit to listen. And we have intelligent discussions around who are we entrusting the country to? Who are we entrusting the ward to? Who are we entrusting the county to, and all of that stuff? And probably we took that presidential debate to a lower level.
Exactly.
Then maybe we begin to have clearer views of who it is that we're picking as leaders.
And there's nothing to stop us from doing that. There's nothing to stop us. It doesn't take much. It takes a few right-thinking people, like-minded people, to actually decide, for my county assembly, we are going to do it. And the minute one county assembly does it, it will spread like bushfire and all the others will peak. And that, in and of itself, will be one way to hold these people to account.
And also to expose the intentions
and
who
to expose the
people,
intentions.
People
so
can only act for so long.
Oh, well, we'll tell you the truth. You vote this person in, but this is what they stand for. This is what they stand for.
Right.
I think there is, it's not all doom. There's been some steps in the right direction. And if you ask me, the presidential debate needs to be cascaded to a lower level.
We have a governor's debate.
Have a governor's
senator debate.
Have a senator's
an MCA debate.
Have a debate for all these people who are seeking office.
Everyone seeking office must
be subjected.
It's your interview process after all.
Yes. And the people who are subjecting you to this are actually the electorate that is going to vote for you. You might decide we will still vote for you, but that's okay. We will have the record that this is what you stand for. But you voted for this person nonetheless.
But now, sometimes we've also been accused of being gullible.
As an electorate?
As an electorate.
Yeah.
And as a people, really.
Yeah.
And we see this in different segments.
Yeah.
Where in spite of the fact that we came to have that kind of a conversation, people came up with a made-up mind. And mutuetu, like you said. So no matter what they do and no matter what they say, our position is mutuetu. How do we then deal with that challenge?
One of the things I have, my observation and my honest view of it, leaders who, or rather politicians, let me call them politicians, politicians who want to play with the people would want to have you gullible.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
So let's deny you exposure to information. Let's deny you opportunities, because the more we expose you, the more you'll be able to challenge us. And that is why one of the things we wanted to do, or rather we actually had done as an institution, is we actually had gazetted the requirements, the academic requirements. But what did politicians do? They've been thrown out. They've been thrown out. And why have these been thrown out? So that you can play with the minds of these people. And our thinking, from a professional thinking, we thought if we have academic requirements for an MCA, remember an MCA is supposed to discuss policy at that level. An MCA is supposed to discuss budget at the county assembly. An MCA is so powerful they can impeach the governor. So why do you want to have an illiterate MCA coming to sign a petition to impeach a governor? How do you do it? But then, these are the same politicians who are fighting and saying
no. Or counties could even do trade deals with other countries as well.
Thank you. But
and
how
therefore,
do you...
I want to know that then my MCA can negotiate a trade deal for my county with some guy in Europe.
So why do you want to have my old man, who was a councillor back in the day, when there was absolutely no requirement, and now we have degree holders with a passion? What they do not have is a money. All right? But you see, the politicians that we have as leaders are better off with a gullible population.
Of course.
They do not want an informed... No.
Generally, they are easier to rule.
Exactly. They are easy. And that is why you and I never get excited around them. I couldn't be bothered if they walked into my function. No. I mean, I will see you as... I am your boss. All right? But my illiterate mother, to whom 50 shillings means everything, will worship that person.
And see what nice. The next question for me is, do you think this middle class team has also failed the country? Because when I think about it, see the conversation you're having about as an exposed person and as a person who is literate, who understands the dynamics of leadership and the implication and the impact of leadership on an economy. I wonder whether we go back home and have those conversations with the people back there. I wonder whether we go and sit with our parents, sit with the young men that we left. We were in school with some of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wonder whether we ever go to have those conversations and say, look, if we're going to develop this word, these are the kind of conversations we have. And I wonder whether we as a middle class, besides tweeting and making noise on social media, do we really go to have these conversations?
You know, you're right. And I was just pointing out to you the voting patterns of an urban constituency.
Yep.
The middle class doesn't. But like I said, in 2013, 2017, that has slowly started changing.
Yep.
And the reason why it might even change completely now is because we are at a point in this country where it doesn't matter whether you're middle class or lower class or upper class. What affects the lowest of them affects me, okay? Because now, if there is no water in some informal settlement, chances are there won't be water in your Lavington home,
right,
or in your Runda home.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So what affects them affects us. But you're also right. The middle class has failed and failed miserably. Over time, they have refused to vote. Why? Because that's when they chose to travel abroad on holidays. They did not see the need. Until now, they would actually feel like, no, it's the poor. It's for the poor. Why? Because of, we were talking of a gullible population. The middle class is not gullible. You cannot come and impress them with your power and your big car. They perhaps drive bigger cars and have fatter bank accounts.
Right.
But over time, they have come to realize, because take an example of a county like Nairobi. If they got their leadership right, the middle class would benefit as much as the informal settlements.
Everyone benefits.
But because the middle class abstained from voting and allowed the informal settlements to vote, the story is known. We all know the story. And it cuts across. It cuts across, all right? So it affects you and me as much as it affects that, you know, mkokoteni pusher that's in some informal settlement. It affects us all the same. Because if there are no policies, there are no policies. If there is insecurity, there is insecurity. And suddenly it does not discriminate. It affects all of us almost equally. Maybe the middle class can afford then to run away and take their children to some schools abroad. And that's the conversation. You and I do not even want to run away. Are not even thinking about running away.
See, the reality,
so we have to change
even if they were to do that, they are still part of wider families.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And even if I took my daughter out, we still have wider families.
Exactly.
Africa families are just larger families.
It's not just nuclear.
And therefore, you can't just detach. And you know what, as we almost bring this to an end, one of the things that I look forward to is to say, County X, that county was able to engage with a foreign country. They were able to go and solicit for investment for the good of their people. They were able to go and create markets for the produce that their people worked too hard to deliver. They have market linkages and all of that stuff. And probably I look forward to a leadership that is able to then say, we can do these linkages. It's actually been left in the hands of private sector, if you think about it.
No, it has.
It is purely in the hands of private sector, all right? But I wished we had this leadership that says, we can drive investments for the good of our people. We can link produce that we have here to supply and markets in different locations.
Right.
We can drive investment, not necessarily just depending on national governments. Because if you think about it, even in a national GDP question, it is a central government that has continued to be dependent on to distribute resources. But I don't know whether counties are generating resources of their own.
You know, at the risk of sounding like, you know, I belong to a certain party. I drove in Makueni County. And I'll be honest with you. Give credit where credit is due, but I think Kivuda has done a very good job. I speak about this not as an elections management, you know, employee, but as a Kenyan.
Yep.
Believe you me, there is so much order, okay, in Makueni. The development, I had been to Makueni before in 2007, all right? The comparison then and now is like day and night.
Right.
And we went into a hotel.
Real work going on.
Yes.
Right.
Real work going, including basic beautification of trees, planting of trees. And we had lunch in a very nice hotel. They had displayed some, you know those Java cookies?
Right.
And I asked them, are you serious? People buy this? They said, yeah. People buy this.
Right.
And it's in the middle of a place called Water. So it's not some urban place.
Right.
All right?
Right.
It's in the middle of a place called Water.
Right.
There is so much order and there's so much that has happened for the people of Makueni. The same could be said for Kitui.
Right.
Her Excellency Ngilu has done a splendid job.
Right.
She has done a good job for our people. So perhaps there are such counties that we could single out and maybe ask ourselves. And that is why I asked the question. So our governors, would they be willing to go to, say, Makueni and benchmark? Why do they go benchmarking in Dubai and God knows where else, when you can actually go and ask Kivuda, so how much money are you assigned as Makueni?
Right.
What have you done?
Right.
What can I borrow from you?
Right.
If we actually want to do it right, we can.
Right.
It's within us. We have the power. We have the resources. This country is extremely rich. If we wanted to do it right, we would.
Right.
Maybe the question is, do we want to? Do we want to?
And it goes back to the servant leadership question.
Exactly.
So why did you go to take the office in the first place?
Thank you. Thank you.
And we've got to vet it from there.
Yes.
Got to vet it from there. So chances are high some of the leaders you're quoting have the people at heart.
Yes.
They just want to see themselves
likely.
making a difference.
Yes. Yes. And that's why they're processing mangoes and processing. I mean, Ukambani has lots of mangoes.
Yep.
And now they have processing units.
Right.
The other day I saw them receiving equipment, medical equipment.
Right.
For some neonatal units. And I'm thinking, what? This is in Makueni? So really, in counties that have embraced devolution and counties that have servant leaders, you can actually feel the difference.
Right.
You can see the change.
Right.
And maybe some that may not have servant leaders, but they have good managers.
Right.
You can, then as a good manager, you decide and you have, an executive that is passionate about the people.
Right.
And work still goes on.
Right.
So we do have examples that have succeeded.
Right.
Devolution in and of its own is a blessing.
Right.
Is a blessing.
Right.
For those that have made use of it,
Right.
they actually they have a lot to show for it.
Right.
But then there are those that have
No, at the end of the day, it will be optimized by the quality of leadership we have.
Is
I mean, it's a
optimized,
fantastic platform, fantastic thought, but then optimized by the quality of leadership, or undermined also
by the
same quality of leadership. John Maxwell actually puts it this way, that everything rises and falls on leadership.
Absolutely.
And I think that burden of leadership is at the heart of it.
It does.
Which is why we need to have this conversation. And hopefully this begins to have a conversation, and many others that then begin to say, we don't have two countries, nice.
No, we don't.
We only have this one.
We
Number
don't.
two, fixing leadership for this country is not going to be done by foreigners.
Nope.
We've got to do that ourselves, right at the most basic of levels, all the way up. And I don't think it's a passive conversation. I think it is an active conversation. And of course, today we are not here to discuss any particular leader or any particular political party, but it's just to say there must be some qualities we'll look for.
Yes.
And if we can do those qualities and invest in leadership of that nature at every ward level, at every parliament, then most likely it begins to inspire hope that then this country can be a better country.
Absolutely.
And we can be a better people. And we can make the leaps and bounds, because Kenya is a blessed country. I can tell you that for free.
Oh, we are.
It is a truly blessed country.
Blessed.
Yeah?
You can say that again.
Absolutely.
We are blessed.
Yep.
And I like what you said, that we will not have foreigners coming to fix the mess, the leadership mess for us.
Right.
If you remember what we were told, was it in 2013?
Yep.
That choices have consequences.
They have consequences.
Oh, and we said,
Yes.
oh, well,
Yeah.
we will deal with the consequences.
Right.
You know?
Right. Here we are.
It is us.
Yep.
It's us as a country to actually fix ourselves.
Absolutely.
There is no foreigner who will come and do it.
Yep.
We are how many years into independence? And we can actually comfortably stand up on our own and get things done.
Right.
And we have what it takes.
Right.
We have the intellectual capability.
Right.
We have the resources. We have the manpower. We have got it. We are an endowed country.
Absolutely.
We are.
Absolutely.
And like you said, we do not have anywhere else to go to.
Absolutely.
We do not.
Absolutely.
If I imagine that I can take off and run to my village in Mashuru, nothing. We have become such a small global village that you can find the smallest of villages on Google Maps.
Right.
There was a time we could say Hatuko kwa map,
Right.
but now we are.
It's all visible. It's out there.
It's all out there.
Absolutely.
So we have got no choice but to fix it.
Absolutely.
And to fix it,
Right.
like you rightfully observed,
Right.
it all falls or rises on the leadership. On the leadership.
Right.
We get
Right.
ourselves servant leaders.
Yep.
We get ourselves available leaders.
Yep.
We get ourselves accountable leaders.
Right.
Then we can talk.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
We can comfortably stand up to be counted.
Absolutely.
But as it is right now, we have a lot of work to do.
And the work
have
we
a lot
must
of
do.
work to do.
And the work we must do.
Yeah. And perhaps, you know, what we should tell ourselves is we don't have to wait for these politicians to do the work. We do not have to wait for some NGO or some civil society to come and do the work. A very basic Kenyan like yourself, I mean, look at what you're doing. Who's paying you to do it? Nobody. You're using your money to do that. But you have no idea just how impactful this would have, this would be. A talk like this, put it out there, people listening, you have no idea how many people you would impact.
Absolutely.
So you do this, someone else replicates,
absolutely.
I replicate,
absolutely.
We have 10 of us doing the same thing,
right.
Then the 10 recruit, it grows exponentially. And,
absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
See, this question has been asked as we almost bring it to a close. This question has been asked many times. Africa is such an endowed continent, very endowed. But at the same time, when you talk about global poverty, Africa still comes way at the top there. And the question and the contradiction of an endowed continent, and we can talk about an endowed country, still ranking in the indexes of poverty, should be something that all of us are concerned about.
Exactly. Because
then when we talk about poverty, we're not talking about cows and sheep that are poor. We're talking about our brothers and sisters whose opportunities get diminished and whose opportunities get threatened and whose qualities of life become also deprived.
Absolutely.
And I think it must concern me that there's a child who sleeps in a different part of the country on an empty stomach. And chances are a lot of these things can be fixed at leadership.
Yes.
And therefore, back to the question, everything rises
or falls.
And falls on leadership. But again, it's a leadership we select and we put into office and provide a mandate to. Therefore, the question of who we put in must remain extremely very important.
It is. It is. It cannot be gainsaid. Who we put in as a leader determines the direction we take as a ward, as a constituency, as a county, and as a country. So you mentioned Africa. We have whatever it takes. And we keep talking about Pan-Africanism, neo-colonialism, all these big terms. But you ask yourself, why are we still experiencing coups in this day and age in Africa? Why? Again, the question of leadership. The question of leadership. If you look at countries that have done well for themselves or countries that have had servant leaders, the difference is out there for everyone to see. If we can fix ourselves, then we do not need anyone to come and do it for us. And I walk out of here with one thing. Everything rises and falls on leadership.
That's what it is.
As basic as it is,
that is
what it is.
Absolutely.
By the way, that sums it up.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
It rises and falls on leadership.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've got to keep redefining what this leadership is all about because it is at the heart of our everyday living. We make poor choices around leadership. Unfortunately, we have no one else to blame, but at the same time, we make great choices, then we will have ourselves a better outcome in all of these things. And I must really thank you, Nice, just for taking your time to come and start a conversation. We may have started it where it goes to, I don't know, but I think we need to have this conversation. Yes. It affects our children, it affects our grandparents, it affects everybody around us, and hopefully we can make better choices and we can continue refining them as we go and remaining very conscious that that choice truly has an outcome and an impact and a consequence, as you said.
It did.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Asante
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
You are actually doing more than is expected of you as a Kenyan. Well, beautiful.
I have a duty to country as well.
I walk out of here with the same.
I have a duty to country.
You do.
Once in a while, folks, we've got to do duty to country.
Yeah.
And remember also, man, if the country is not okay, then chances are your gold mine unleashing ability is also undermined. The reason why we have this conversation is to keep reminding you that there is greatness on the inside of you. And part of unleashing that greatness is ensuring that the community around you and what you can do to make that community a better community and that country a better country and your environment a better environment is all in your hands, and we need to do something, and we cannot relent because your environment sometimes determines how well of a gold mine you unleash out of yourself. Man, thank you folks for joining us today. We've had a national conversation, and we hope that then these conversations continue and we exercise a civic responsibility and build a nation hopefully better than one we inherited. Want to invite you to keep following us on the Goldmine Show on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on YouTube, and let's keep building a great community that believes in the greatness of ourselves as a people and of course our country as well. Man, what a joy to have hosted Nice.
Thank you so much. Asante.
Yeah, but until next time, God bless you and keep working the greatness inside of you. Don't quit on you, don't give up on you. Continue becoming the greatness that you truly are. God bless you.
Thank you.
And we're out, man.
Asante sana. Beautiful.
Thank you, nice.
Asante.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.